Welcome to Conversations, a podcast provided by the Center for Thriving Leaders and sponsored by Grace Theological Seminary. I'm Dr. Trent Lambert, and we are here to help leaders thrive in ministry. Let's jump into the conversation for today. Welcome to Conversations, a podcast provided by the Center for Thriving Leaders and sponsored by Grace Theological Seminary. I am Dr. Trent Lambert, and we are here to help leaders thrive in ministry. So with no further ado, I want to jump right into our conversation for today. And today we have with us Virgil Tanner. Welcome, Virgil. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Trent. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Virgil is the executive director of One Tree Ministries. He leads and curates a community of practitioners and scholars in cultivating flourishing missional ecosystems all over the world. One Tree does this by providing a targeted developmental accompaniment of moments and recognized need with a preferential option for leaders in mission, ministry, and the majority of the world. He holds a bachelor's in biology, a master's in religion and cross-cultural studies, and a master's in curriculum and instruction. He's presently working on an ED in Christian leadership. Virgil, once again, thanks for being with us today in the podcast for Grace College and Seminary.
Thank you, Trent.
So you're carving out some time for a doctorate. How's that going, my friend?
Yeah, it's going all right. I'm in my last course, like my last content course, and then the praxis and research starts in August. I have enjoyed it pretty thoroughly, but it has been quite a time commitment.
And you kind of have to find that rhythm to be able to work on that, concentrate with family as well, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. Like, you have to trap it inside like a window of time each week, and then it gets tricky when something else takes that window, and you're trying to find corners and edges, pockets, finish stuff up.
Years ago, when I did my doctorate, I would put my children to bed, my wife would go to bed, and I'd stay up until the wee hours of the evening working on my doctorate papers and so on and so forth, when I would have a little bit of peace. And so I certainly understand that. And I've got to be honest with you, Virgil, when I finished mine and I submitted it for the last time and my editing came back from my readers and it was done, I have to be honest with you that at that moment when it was done and finished, I faced depression, to be honest with you, because it was this monumental thing that I was accomplishing and it was finished. And then it was like, now what?
Now what?
So I don't know if you'll get that now what moment, or maybe you'll just be rejoicing that it's done, but just know there's a lot of emotions at the end.
Thank you. Thanks for the heads up. That's useful.
Hey, Virgil, I always enjoy talking with our guests, and here on the Conversations podcast, we have several thousand ministry leaders who will be listening to us today. So we want to first and foremost give praise to Jesus Christ for his giftedness to leaders, and we want to encourage them today. And we always want to start with, I feel, a couple of the most important things, and one of those being family. And so tell us a little bit about your family, and what does your family look like?
Yeah. I'm married. I've been married for 25 years. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary a couple of weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was her birthday yesterday. So it's like anniversary and birthday season. It's kind of a time to celebrate joy. She's a fantastic human being. She's my favorite human. And then we have 5 living children, 3 girls and 2 boys. They span 21 down to 4. Got a 4-year-old banging around the house. And we live kind of in the woods, not like way deep in the woods, just sort of in the woods, and lots of chickens and cats and odd creatures. There's a peacock that has decided to take up residence in my yard. Nice. So kind of like a Dr. Dolittle family here in Southwest Michigan. Yeah.
Now, are you traditionally from Michigan? Your family's from Michigan?
I grew up in Downriver, Detroit. Okay. And then my wife was born in South Bend, Indiana.
Okay.
But grew up all over North America. Her dad founded a ministry called Life Action, and it was a revival ministry. So she traveled all over North America in a camper, like doing church revitalization with her family.
Very nice.
But my kids are my kids are kind of they're from everywhere else, right? We were 8 years in Nashville, and most of them were born in Nashville, even though they weren't like they didn't grow up there. Two were born while we lived in Nashville. Then we moved to Central Asia. Two more were born while we lived in Central Asia, but they were born in a hospital in Nashville. Just timed that way. For 8 years in Central Asia and then 5 years in Spain. So one of them was born in Spain. They all kind of identify from different parts of that. Some of them identify as Central Asian, some identify, as like, I'm really kind of from Spain. Their personalities reflect where we live.
Now, being then in Michigan, I have to ask the question. So, are you a Wolverine fan or a Spartan fan?
Oh yeah. So besides me, um, only one of my sisters like went to college, like went away to college, and she went to MSU. So even though I was really close to the University of Michigan growing up, we were state fans. So I was a Spartan.
I feel much better about you now, Virgil, because as an Ohio State alum, we can deal with Spartans, but when it comes to Wolverines, that's another story.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard to get past that animosity.
Amen. And here in the seminary, we have a couple hallways. We have the Ohio State hallway and we have the Michigan hallway. And so
Yeah.
passing in the hallways makes it very interesting.
That's tricky, because now in Christ there is no Jew, Greek, barbarian, Scythian, Spartan, Buckeye, slave, or free, right? Top.
Yeah, so we still throw the occasional barbs towards one another, but it's all in jesting and fun. Hey, one of the things that I did some study on years ago is health and life of pastors, and so one thing that I began to look at is hobbies and how hobbies impact this. And so, what do you do in your life to stay sharp, unpack, to stay mentally in the game per se, or kind of to relax a little bit?
Yeah. Because my hobbies had to evolve sort of regardless of what continent I was on. They're not really very niche, like some people like I love to smoke meat. Like that was just not an option in Central Asia.
Yeah.
But I have an avid barbell and kettlebell fan.
Really?
I love to pick up heavy stuff. Um, I'm a lifelong grappler. I'm a judoist, and I love that. I love it. I love fantasy fiction, and I love board games with friends and family. And I love to be in the woods. I don't like. I could hunt. I could hike. It doesn't matter what it is. Just being in the woods and away from voices is absolutely mission critical for me.
Have you had some time to hunt in Michigan?
Not yet. We've only been in Michigan for 3 years, and each year when the season opens, it's in southern Michigan. If you don't get after it when the season opens, you're not going to get anything. I'm usually in some war-torn country, training missionaries in some kind of resiliency approach. So I'm never here when the season opens. So I haven't had a chance to get started yet here.
Well, I'm an avid hunter myself. My weapon of choice is a bow. I'm an archery hunter. I'll pick up the gun when I have to. What are you, more of an archery or gun hunter?
I grew up a gun hunter. I recently discovered like a left eye dependency. So I'm right-handed, but I should shoot left-handed.
Interesting.
And I was always a terrible shot with a bow, right-handed, so I gave up on it. But an archery teacher recently was like, "Here, switch hands, try this." But I did it, kind of fell back in love. So I might give that a shot this year.
Well, my son and I, we are avid outdoorsmen. We hunt, we fish, and just recently we tried fly fishing for the first time, and I am absolutely addicted. I didn't think I'd like it, but once you learn the movements, it is a lot of fun. So I think we're going to be doing a lot more fly fishing.
I saw what's the movie like the classic like River Runs Through It.
The river runs through it. Yeah, with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, yeah. First time I saw that as a kid, I looked at that guy doing that and I thought I wanna make that shape in the air. Like that's something about that just looks mesmerizing.
Have you ever tried that?
No, I haven't. I've never had opportunity.
Watching, I'm like, man, that seems very complicated, but you can learn the movement pretty easy, and it is a lot of fun. So Yeah, I'm proverbially hooked. Yeah.
Oh, I might give it a shot then. Michigan's like mostly water, so I have lots of options here.
Yeah. I encourage you to do it. A lot of fun. You know, I enjoy the family discussion, but this next one, I love asking all of our guests because I love to hear what God is doing in people's lives. Tell us a little bit about your acceptance and your journey of Jesus Christ.
Okay, yeah. Um, okay, so I told you a minute ago that I've been a lifelong judoist. And that exposure to classical Japanese martial arts, oddly, is sort of a big player in my journey with Jesus. Um, but I grew up in a very conservative, I don't say that uh with praise or pejoratively, but a very conservative Christian home. Um, like the stream of the faith that was only one version of the Bible is tolerable. Women have to dress a certain way all the time. That kind of that very end of the spectrum.
Gotcha.
Um, and the church actually was just full of lovely people who kept me out of trouble. I probably would have gotten a lot of trouble if they didn't. That stream of the faith is really good at like people who've been in prison, homeless shelters. Like they're just really good at hard folks, and they kept me out of trouble. Um, but this is probably significant. So when you walk into a dojo, you bow on the way in, and you're doing it to signal to yourself, I'm entering a space where people practice away, and that they were practicing violence here. So I can't do this half conscious. Like I don't. This is nothing casual about this. This is real, right? Uh, but when I walk into the sanctuary at the church as a participant in the youth group, I'm walking in the sanctuary. I just unconsciously I bowed on the way in, and my buddy cuffed me on the back of the head and he said, "What are you doing, man? This isn't a dojo. That's not what we do here." And I'm like, "Then what are we doing here?" And that question, "What are we doing here?" Um, that question got me right, and it hooked me pretty hard. I don't know that I was in the faith until I went to college, probably a couple of months into my second year in college. Um, there was some crisis. There was a health crisis. There's a whole bunch of catastrophes happening at the same time. And I remember saying to Jesus, "Look, Jesus, uh, people who follow you don't act like I act. So therefore, I must not actually follow you. If you still want me, you can have me, but I'm sort of done with this half measure." And there was this moment of absolute clarity and really perfect peace, like just flawless peace. And my mind had been crazy for all of the minutes of my life leading up to that. I'm neurodivergent two or three different ways. There was plenty of trauma, not direct trauma, plenty of secondary trauma in my house growing up that made for a lot of chaos. And my head was always loud. It was really quiet right there for a second. And then 5 minutes later, the crazy rushed back in. But I noticed anytime I was reading the Sermon on the Mount, the crazy would go away. So for about 6 months, I read the Sermon on the Mount maybe 5 times a day, and it reprogrammed the way I thought about the world, about Jesus, about myself, about what life is. It became like a manifesto for organizing my life. And this is going to sound corny, but like through that process, Jesus really became in a very genuine way like my sensei. Like I I learned how to practice. I began learning how to practice the way of Jesus with like a living teacher of Jesus. That I was 19, and then off I went. I went back to college. I went to Liberty. I wasn't in Liberty for that first couple of years, but after that, I went to Liberty. Got involved in a campus ministry, lots of outreach to the lost. Got discipled a lot through that. Um, Became alive to the lostness of the world, unengaged, unreached peoples. Really, just hurt my heart that the injustice of the unavailability of the gospel. Jesus discipled me through that. Yeah, and then along the way, I migrated through pretty much all the streams of orthodoxy. Really, like I've been all the things. Evangelical, charismatic, liturgical, sacramental. Um, Eventually, just found my way back to like I follow Jesus, people who follow Jesus, and the whole church is beautiful.
I find that story incredible that Jesus became your sensei. And I Jesus is more real to me than the very day that I met him when I was 11 years old. I had an experience of Jesus that changed my life. And I think the important thing for both, it's personal. It's a relationship. Um, I know some people don't like this terminology, but he became my best friend. And
Mm.
so I love your story. I love how that melted together. From there, um, talk to us your journey of how you came to the place of the ministry that you're now the executive leader of.
Sure, sure. When we were in college, my wife and I was pre-med. Um, she was education. I was being mentored by the missions guy in the seminary and the Old Testament guy in the seminary, Don Fowler. He used to be at Grace actually before he went to
Okay.
Liberty. I don't know if you ever know.
Yeah, I'm a Liberty grad myself.
Oh, all right, all right. Yeah, so Jim O'Neill was mentoring me and Don Fowler. I learned about the world through Jim, and I learned how to love people concretely by from Don. Um, but we knew we were going to go overseas. Like some things had happened between us and Jesus, some real meaningful conversation. But we didn't know where or when. So when I graduated from the pre med program, I lost interest in the hard sciences, and you can't go to medical school disinterested. So I went to seminary to be with those guys. And then I finished seminary, same time she finished her undergrad. A church hired us in Nashville. So we went to Nashville and we started it like we started vigorously experimenting with in really intense, intentional spiritual community. Really living. We were really motivated by monastic models. We were motivated by the story of Labrie, um, Finkenwald, Bonhoeffer's seminary. We just wanted to try things. So we tried things and beautiful stuff happened. Um, and then 9 years in, it was like we were in elders. I was a teaching pastor at that point. Elders, in the elders meeting, it was very Acts 13, like very unprompted. It just became clear, hey, it's time to mobilize Virgil and Joy.
Hmm.
And so by that meeting started with that. By the end of the meeting, I didn't have a job anymore. Like we started the process of raising money, and we went about a year and a half later, we went overseas. Um, we looked at several really hard target environments, and selected one in Central Asia. Through prayer and fasting, really, there wasn't like one thing, that one box that got ticked. It was a discernment, collective discernment process. So they're in Central Asia. The average stay for a lifetime worker in that country was like 3 years. If someone was I'm gonna be here forever, they lasted about 3 years. Um, and that started to work on us, in part because we were the people who did stay. And we noticed among the people who stayed, there was also collateral damage. Like the way we stayed, we turned off the parts of our hearts that got injured by the same things that injured the people who quit and that got injured when those people left. And what you wound up with was a really diminished witness. The more defended you are, the less bright your light, right? So we became conscious, like there has to be a way to be able to consume the chaos of this place, the sheer darkness
Hmm.
and constant unpredictability and just severity of some things, and turn that into fruit, like not just survive it, but thrive through it, right? So the notion of thriving started to really surface for us. We got kicked out of that country, got back in, but in the interim between getting kicked out and getting kicked back, keep getting back in, our organization the sending agency we were with, asked us to oversee everything that they were doing in Muslim context globally. You couldn't do that from Central Asia because of the security profile. So we moved to Spain, and from Spain we were doing oversight, strategic leadership. So the question of thriving comes up a lot in member care and not a lot in strategic leadership, and that's in mission land at least, and that's really shocking to me, because when we ask the question, what is the most strategic input we can make to seeing unengaged peoples engage with the gospel, it was do something about attrition.
Hmm.
Because at the time, 5 out of every 10 people who mobilized anywhere in the world went home in the first 5 years. 5 out of 10. That's one and two. And 8 out of 10 went home in the first 5 years of people who mobilized to hard target environments, limited access environments. 80% of the people that And a typical unit costs $500,000 to get through their first 3 years. So if you send 10 of those and only 2 stay, like there are 100 ways the Great Commission is not getting done this way, right?
Hmm.
We also learned this is a little anachronistic, but after coming back here to the States, we recently learned that the stats now in aggregate across denominations are the same for pastors coming out of seminary. 5 out of 10
Yeah.
quit in the first 5 years. And I wonder actually if that's something that has something to do with how completely now North America has become post-Christian. But when we started looking at the question of attrition, it became clear like most member care was too little too late, and that most training was too much too soon. And what it led to was burned out leaders who were over-informed and underformed.
Hmm.
And no one can win. No one can win from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that led us to some innovations that worked within our organization. Then other people, other organizations started to ask us for the help, and it became pretty clear if we wanted to make the things that Jesus allowed us by His grace to learn in these really hard environments available to the whole church or lots more people, it would be needful to kind of sort of dedicate our attention to that. So that's what led to starting One Tree.
So now, if you could unpack for us, what is One Tree Ministries?
Okay. Yeah. So we're a collective of practitioners and scholars. So some of us are avid researchers and paper writers. My director for training is a anthropology PhD from Oxford, right? And some of us are like counselors. My wife is a trauma debriefer, and she uses play to reconnect people to their souls.
Okay.
Right. So we're a collection of scholars and practitioners. And what we do is we provide targeted accompaniment in point and process. So when we meet a leader, we serve lots of people, but we prefer leaders because leaders have a 100x impact on their environments, right? When we meet a leader, we don't say, hey, here's what we have. You should take the stuff we have. We actually listen to the leader and find out where the leader is at and what does the leader need. If the leader needs a competency, we deploy our training team for them. If the leader needs healing, we deploy our care team for them. And we shape the accompaniment around their need. All of it is informed by a spiritual direction sensibility. So we're not just seeing to healing a wound. We're helping people encounter Jesus in the context of their wound. We're not just giving a competency. We're helping people engage Jesus at the point of that need for focused discipleship. So what we do is we help leaders become the kind of people that can actually act on their vocation with force and verve and joy, so they can inhabit a beautiful obedience.
When I hear that, I'm just thinking about the scope and the monumental need for leaders today with the services that you offer. In like manner, my office here at the Center for Thriving Leaders in our seminaries, I work with a lot of ministry leaders across the country, and I hear a lot of different things that are going on. I'm curious from your experience, what you're hearing, what are some common problems that ministry leaders are facing today uniquely?
Yeah, it's good. All right. So sometimes we are underskilled at stewarding our souls. And it's not for lack of wanting to steward our souls well. It has a lot to do with family and theology of origin. We tell people that they don't have a soul, they are a soul. And that their soul has 5 dimensions: spiritual, physical, cognitive, emotional, and relational. Depending on your come from, you are probably really good at taking care of 1 or 2 of those. You're probably mediocre at taking care of 1 or 2 of those, or sort of clueless, and then you're allergic to one of them. So growing up Baptist, we were allergic to our emotions.
Yeah.
And my next door neighbor, the charismatic guy, he was absolutely allergic to the cognitive. Just did not want to think about anything. And that's not in total across all denominations like that, but like depending on your come from,
Yeah.
you're probably underskilled, and so you wind up with an inadequately holistic approach to taking care of yourself. And then you keep deploying solutions that don't work because they're not. You can't think your way to emotional healing. You can't feel your way to clarity. You can't Bible your way to relationality. Like there you have to actually address the part of you that needs the reinforcement. I think that's a significant issue. I think there are four places we keep seeing leaders lose traction, like spend a lot of sideways energy. Um, One is they struggle to integrate their work with God in the way that Jesus says, "I only do what I see my Father doing." Um, there's not a lot of training on discerning the action of God in your environment. There's a lot of training on hermeneutics, but not a lot of training on the hermeneutics of the environment. There's not tons of that. Being able to track the action of Jesus in your environment and then to limit yourself to only doing that. A lot of the burnout we see is people doing things God never asked them to do. Really good, beautiful things that God simply isn't doing, but they just feel they're supposed to, you know?
Yeah, unpack what you said, tracking Jesus in your environment. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. Um, so let's just start with that statement in John 5. Uh, I only do what I see my Father doing. All right. So there are two competencies necessary to be able to live into what Jesus said there. So in John 20, he says, "As the Father sent me, so send I you." And that seems to be a textual lever to help the reader understand. Oh, however Jesus described his sending, that's a modeling for us, right? So if we want to, like Jesus, move through the world doing what we see the Father doing, only what we see the Father doing, there's two fundamental competencies to that. One is the ability to see what the Father's doing. Um, almost all of the decision making literature on leadership for Jesus followers is business literature baptized. Hmm. There is not a lot of really good training on situational discernment. What is God doing in this room? What is God doing in this neighborhood? What is God doing right in front of me in this person? And then the second competency is limiting myself only to participating in that, not doing the 45 other awesome things that I think I could do right here that I feel like I'm supposed to because the ghost of my dad in the back of my head says I'm supposed to. I don't know. My tradition, a book I read, a model I think I'm espousing. If I can identify what Jesus is up to and just do that, I've come a really, really long way in managing my energy because now I'm doing what Paul says. I'm striving mightily with all of his energy that he mightily works within me. I'm just doing what he's doing, and I'm doing it with a power source that is infinite. That goes a long way to mitigating burnout.
Right. Um,
Was that too ethereal and theoretical?
no, I'm still processing what you said, and I hope our listeners, when they listen to this, will really chew on that because I think what you said is very profound, very simple but profound, and it brings us back to the basics of our calling and purpose and identity. I am fascinated, Virgil, with another dynamic that you deal with and offer in your ministry, and that's something called guided Sabbaths. Talk to us about that.
The guy, yeah, the guided sabbatical. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. When we were working in Spain, we were next to one of the best member care teams on the planet called Sentwell. They're just stellar. I think they might actually be the very best member care team on the planet. I had the good fortune of becoming friends with their team leader, and I reached kind of a level of burnout right after the pre-COVID lockdown years. Probably we were locked down really hard in Spain. And so I was given by my organization. It had to do with the amount of time I had served, and I was given 6 months, um, just for a sabbatical. And so I thought I'll just take 6 months. I'll just do whatever I want. And my buddy, team lead for that member care team, he's like, "This is the most dangerous moment you've been in a really long time." It's sort of like when you stopped your doctorate, like when your doctorate was over.
Mhm.
Uh, when you take the barbell off your back and now there's nothing there, it's actually pretty easy to get injured. when you take the weight off you, you know? So a guided sabbatical goes like this. It's like an airplane flight is the takeoff and the landing are the most important,
Mm-hmm.
or like a sausage link, the two ends, you got to
Yeah.
keep those tight or all the meat falls out.
Yep.
Same thing with a sabbatical. Like, we help. What we do is people come to us. They locate here with us for a couple of weeks. We typically do about a week of some kind of debriefing of recent events, positive and negative. Maybe some pretty limited counseling, because if you're looking for a sabbatical, you're probably either very fatigued or you're beat up. Um, and then we actually reintroduce you to some of the mechanics, the neuromechanics of play. Reintroduce you to hobbies, kind of reset your pacing for you so that you know how to like grow slow for a while. And then after those 2 weeks, you go somewhere else. Maybe it's back to your town, maybe it's to a friend's cabin, maybe it's to see family somewhere, maybe you travel for a while. We don't suggest a guided sabbatical shorter than 8 weeks, but we love a 6 month sabbatical. That's beautiful. But then 8 weeks is the shortest we would suggest. And then at the end of those weeks, and we track with you, you meet with us maybe every other week, virtually during that time. And then at the end, you come back for about a week of coaching to help you reintegrate and kind of reapproach how you want to enter the next chapter of your life. So it's not simply a repeat of the chapter before.
In addition to that, could you let our audience know some upcoming events and maybe training sessions offered by One Tree Ministries?
Sure. Yeah. So our flagship event is something called Resoul. And One Tree, the ministry, is named after a leadership approach that we designed called the One Tree approach. Um, that comprises 3 phases: learning how to thrive in chaos, learning how to do integrated and integrative work, and then learning how to develop and to develop others into the most differentiated and Christiform version of yourself that you can be. The world needs you all the way alive and as Christified as possible, right? So Resoul addresses that first level, thriving in chaos. We teach you how to assess your vitality in 5 dimensions reliably and regularly. We teach you how to make a coherent plan to thrive in the context of your real life. And then we teach you how to lead others to thrive. Andy Crouch makes the point that power is for flourishing. It is possible. And King David, at the end of his life, said that when one rules wisely in the fear of the Lord, he's like sunshine and rain on the mown grass. It's possible to lead in a way that feels like sunshine and rain feels to the grass, like an invitation up into who you really are and the supply of what you need to get there. So this event, it's an experiential, relational training. It's an embodied training. Can't do it online. There's no way to think your way through it. You learn how to assess your vitality, how to plan to thrive, and then how to lead others to thrive. The next one that's local here, we do those all over the world. We'll do it in Thailand soon, Puerto Rico next. We'll be in Israel. We were in Palestine a few months ago. But the next local one is November 3rd through the 8th. And you can find out about it on onetreeministries.org. Just click the Resoul link. It'll tell you all about it.
Now, I just want to ask generally for our audience, who needs the services that you offer?
Okay, that's a great question. I keep being told, this is going to come off funny, but I keep being told, stop saying this is just for leaders, it's for everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and just submit to them and say everybody. But I will say this, that we really focus our energies on leaders in mission, ministry, and the majority world. Because leaders have a 100x impact on their ecosystems. They build the world that the rest of us live in. So if you feel responsible for the well-being of somebody else, if you are trying to do something beautiful in a world that is resistant to you, if you've recently taken damage or you're about to do something really difficult, or if you feel an invitation from Jesus to become more dangerous in the world, we're your guys. We would really be honored to be of service to you.
I love that statement.
Actually,
How to be more dangerous for Jesus in your world. I love it.
that's it. And that's like, Trent, I'm not member care. I'm a sensei. We try to help people become dangerous.
Yeah.
We want to make you a threat to the dark.
Amen. I love that. I may steal that, Virgil. That's great.
You're welcome to it, man.
Hey, buddy, you also have a new book called Soul Tending. Tell us a little bit about your book, and then please tell our listeners where they can get it.
Sure. Um, yeah. So soul tending, leading for strategic human flourishing. I just described the one tree approach. Five dimensions of your soul for thriving, four integrations for work, three poieses.
That's all in the
Go
book?
ahead. The book is all about that.
Awesome.
Follows, yeah, it takes the picture of a tree and maps thrive, work, and develop onto that tree. The idea of the book is this: it's possible to lead in a way that feels like sunshine and rain, that leads to flourishing, predictably leads to flourishing. Trent, I don't say this a lot, but when we deployed this in with our people, our attrition rate dropped to zero. It's possible to lead people in a way that leads to flourishing. It really can be done, and you don't have to be a phenomenal leader to do it. You just kind of require a simple set of tools and a really vivid, coherent imagination of how to have some key conversations. Right. So that's what this book trains you to do. It trains you to have the critical conversations and then how to front load or backfill the necessary competencies in you or in other people that are needed in order to thrive, work, and develop in place. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at missionbooks.org. You can get it at Barnes and Noble.
I would encourage our listeners today to pick up a copy of the book. Um, I love the approach where there's an academic research piece, but also a practitioner's piece as well. I think it couples well. So I really encourage our listeners to locate Soul Tending and pick up a copy of that by Virgil Tanner. One last time, if we have listeners today, Virgil, that are screaming for help, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. First thing I would say, if it's okay, if you're screaming for help, good job. Well done. You should feel no shame about that. You are worth it. You're worth being helped. You're worth it. So what you would do is you'd go to onetreeministries.org. If you have help immediately available to you, take that, right? We are ministry informed though. So like we know what it's like to be you. If you want our help, you go to onetreeministries.org and there'll be a button. It occurs over and over again. We make it as easy as possible for you. It says schedule a discovery call. So you'll click that, you'll fill in a few little pieces of information. And our intake coordinator will call you for free and will listen to your story. And then she'll take that to our care coordinator, our care lead, our director for care. And together they will identify which of our professionals are best suited to assist you, and they'll make a proposal. When you get the proposal, it will cost exactly half what it costs us. We want to do this for free, but if we do it for free, you tend to not heal because you don't put anything into it. So we tell you you're worth it, and then we prove it by paying as much as you pay. We put as much skin in it as you put in it because you're worth it. So that's how it would go down.
All right, for our last moment together here, um, Virgil, one last comment that you would like to leave with our listeners from your life, your ministry experience, from One Tree Ministries. What's one last statement that you could leave with our ministries leaders today?
Yeah. It would have a semicolon in it. So here it goes. The messenger is the message. A diminished messenger is a distorted message. Productivity and fruitfulness are not the same thing. They're not mutually exclusive, but they happen along different cascades, and they require us to learn how to lead differently.
Mm, well said, my friend. I
Thank
I
you, brother.
I really want to encourage our listeners to tap into this ministry, pick up a copy of Virgil's book, Soul Tending, and I think it'll be a tremendous blessing for you. Virgil, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to remotely tap into our podcast today. We thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Really grateful for this opportunity, Trent. I'm very grateful for your work in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. This is Dr. Lambert with the Center for Thriving Leaders and Grace Theological Seminary, challenging you to keep thriving in ministry. Thanks for joining. Hope you listen next time. This is Dr. Trent Lambert with the Center for Thriving Leaders and Grace Theological Seminary, challenging you to keep thriving in ministry. Thanks for joining us today.